what will happen when the Mayan calendar ends on December 21st, 2012. We have a wonderful, wonderful lineup of speakers today. Sean David Morton, Michael Cremo, Tricia McCannon, Mellon Thomas Benedict, Colin Andrews, Fred Allen Wolf, Lai Uberud, Abby Hayden, Newton Kodovetti, Joseph Tittle, Robert Bobal, and myself, Susan Shumsky. Speakers who are going to be on a wonderful cruise that we're going to be doing December 17th to the 22nd of 2012, in which we're going to be celebrating the end of the Mayan calendar. I just can't wait to hear all of these amazing speakers and for them to teach us and tell us how we can move into this fifth world that we're going to be moving into. And you'll learn more about what that means, the fifth world, according to the ancient Mayans. So let's get started now. Let's just take a moment to center ourselves. So let's take a big deep breath to unite with each other. Breathe in and let it go. Let's take a big deep breath of divine love. Breathe in and release. Let's take a big deep breath of relaxation. Breathe in and let it go. As we now know and recognize that there is one power and one presence at work in the universe and in our lives, the divine spirit within us, we are merged with and one with that divine spirit, knowing that it governs our every action, our every breath. It governs all that we do. And it is right here, right now, within us, in the very center of being. There that divine spirit is. We are merged with and one with that perfect divine spirit. Therefore, we give up and give over to spirit, give over to God, knowing that it is in God's perfect hands right here and right now. We call forth all the beautiful divine beings of light and ascended masters, angels and archangels. And we release this prayer into the spiritual law, knowing it does demonstrate right here and right now. Thank you, God, and so it is. Sean David Morton is the author of Black Seraph, The Dark Prophet, and the true story, Sands of Time, a behind-the-scenes true story about government black ops and U.S. development of super technology. Sean is an award-winning independent filmmaker. Sean David Morton's stunningly accurate predictions of future events in his books, his lectures, and the Delphi Associates newsletter have brought him international recognition as one of America's premier futurists, projective economists, intuitive healers, researchers, and spiritual teachers. Sean has been a reporter, writer, producer for many television shows, including Strange Universe, Hard Copy, Sightings, Unsolved Mysteries, and so on, many, many. And he was the #1 guest for 17 years on Coast to Coast AM. He tirelessly continues his quest to bring the light of world media attention to the paranormal, the prophetic, and to the ascension of mankind. And Sean's radio show is called StrangeUniverseRadio.com. I'd like you to just give us what you envision, what you see is going to happen on December 21st, 2012, and what will happen, how we can prepare ourselves for this new era that we're moving into, for the fifth world that we're moving into.
You have to be, as St. Paul used to say, as gentle as doves and wise as serpents. We have to be bright, we have to be alert, we have to be conscious. There are energies that are about to transform, transmute, and transmogrify the earth in many, many different ways. This is literally energies that are not only currently coming out of the sun. That, by the way, everybody that's been in this field, Susan, and everybody that's going to be on this fantastic trip has been talking about now for years and years and years and years. And now we're seeing all these things begin to happen. We were talking about 2012 being a social collapse, a political collapse, a various implosion of a whole series of different different political and economic structures. We're looking at the banking system being completely revamped. We're looking at the the possibility that the quote United States as we know it is not really going to be here maybe much longer. Is actually going to form some kind of new government or break up within the next few years. So the biggest thing has to do with that the planet itself is a brain. It's a global mind, and this global mind is divided up into two hemispheres exactly like the brain is. And the bicameral fissure in the center of the brain is representative of an area that begins in Gabon, Africa, that then goes all the way up in a line to, which oddly enough is also the root, shall we say, of all of evolution on the Earth. That supposedly, the various human races, either landed here or supposedly started in Gabon, Africa, according to various, evolution theories. But if you draw this line that goes straight up through Italy, straight up through Berlin, then up through Scandinavia, you have the line of demarcation between East and West. Now, this is all things that the Mayans were telling us, some time ago, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. But things that we're now learning to be true. All of our modern maps and all of our political conflicts have been shaped, shall we say, by the formation of these various lines, the divisions of East and West, and Middle East, and all of this. So it all has to do, and I have to say it once, I have to say it again. It all has to do with the ascension of the human mind, with the reintegration of the right and left-hand sides of the brain to take what we call the dominant masculine aggressive judgment side of the brain, which is the left-hand side of the brain. And of course, all that side of the brain does is judge things, right or wrong. It actually judges distance, it judges size, it judges there are certain emotional judgments and convictions that it makes. But basically, the whole left-hand side of the brain is good for nothing more than measuring things. It understands basic mathematics. It understands basic geography, if you will, and geometry, of the spaces of objects and how things, work within those objects and sizes and shapes and whatever. And it's 2 + 2 = 4, and it's the checkbook on the other side. It also thinks in terms of linear time. Linear time of A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, going from why not? Don't read me. So the linear time frame of this is the fact that we're experiencing time in a straight line. That it goes from one event to another. You tune into this conference, you listen to us talk for a while, and then you hang up the phone. Now on the right hand side of the brain again, that's the left hand side of the brain. Now when you're talking about the right hand side of the brain, you're talking about what we kind of laughingly call the passive, feminine, submissive side of the brain. But we're talking about the side of the brain that deals in symbols, archetypes, dream states, colors, music, dance, anything fluidic movement, gymnastics even. The power of the body to be able to, mold itself into new shapes. And, this is the whole aspect of the female. If the male is the rock on the shore, then the female is the might and the power of the ocean that then flows around that rock. And so if we understand that part of the brain has been veiled, in other words, we've somehow, for whatever reason, and whether or not it is has to do with our own evolution, there's some people who theorize that we've been going through a null space or a null field in the galaxy now for something like 26,000 years, and that we're about ready to move out of this. But something has been dampening and blocking our access to the entire right-hand side of the brain, because that side of the brain thinks in terms of quantum time. And in quantum time, we see the past, we see the present, we see the future, we see into the earth, we see into each other, and there's a veil that's coming off. And every event, from the solar eclipse on May 20th, which was the sun and the moon and the Pleiades aligned, to the 16 days later, the Venus transit on June 5th and 6th, to the to everything that's been going on, to the harmonic convergence back in '87, the harmonic concordance back in 2003. All of these things are all meant to just blast away at this veil that separates the male and the female in all of us, but it separates the psychological aspect of the male having access to amazing information, I guess you could say, once the quantum side of the brain kicks in. Because once it does, that's where really long-term memories are stored. That's where the intellect really is. And as we approach the December 21st, 22nd, 23rd date, we have to remember that, let's say the veil goes out and we now are empathic and telepathic and can hear each other and can see into each other and see into the earth and see the past and the present and the future. Very much like Terence McKenna said that the only thing he could see happening on December 21st of as great a magnitude as what he was seeing was human beings learning how to literally travel through time. And I think it's interesting that there's been so many people out there that have been publishing books and writing blogs and all these things about time travel. And of course, my book, Sands of Time, which you can get at www.strangeuniverseradio.com, is all about the secret, 40 years in the secret government and the development of not only time travel but all the technology and Area 51 and the Dulce Mesa and all that. It also means, and this is a big deal religiously and politically, the end of what we call duality. Now, I just want you to think about what that means, that if we end duality, if we end and finally merge not only the male and female, but duality separates itself in virtually every religion as good versus evil, as Krishna or Shakti versus the demon king of Ceylon, Archangel Michael versus Archangel Lucifer, God versus Satan, Muhammad versus pretty much everybody. And the idea of this is that if we end duality and we suddenly start thinking in terms of not, I guess you would say, good or evil or ultimate judgments of morality, and we begin to understand that everything in the universe merges together and everything in the universe is one and is whole in a system, and if we become telepathic and empathic, how difficult is it going to be for us to kill another person whose thoughts and dreams and plans and schemes and ideas we can see and feel? Is it going to be the final completion of the seventh chakra, which is what French philosopher Pierre Desjardins called the developing global consciousness that is now connecting through things like teleseminars and telephones and cruise ships, let's say, people coming together in cruise ships. But most importantly, it's the internet, it's satellite intercommunication, it's high-definition television. We can now experience the tragedies of others from half a world away. It's one of the few things in history that we have now that they can teach us. So if duality ends and good and evil ends, then that means we're moving into a Taoist world where everything is viewed in terms of positives and negatives. Everything is viewed in terms of shades of light and shades of darkness and the shades of gray in between. And if we look at the shades of gray in between, it very much becomes things that are kind of muted in shadow. And now we begin to see, and this is truly what happens, we move from the perspective of the snake, which is moving through the grass, and that's, of course, all it can see, to then the perspective of the dog, who bounds over the grass or over the field, who has sort of heightened senses but can see a little bit more of the pattern of things, to then the perspective of the eagle that now flies over the fields and can now see everything. It can now see the warp and weave and the Sturm und Drang and the power and the passion of all of these things, and then moves to interesting enough, in the Mayan calendar, we then move up to the power of the sun. So not only does the sun look at it from a perspective of now where we are on the Earth, but now where we are within the galaxy, and eventually where we are within the universe. And if we come to this global realization, and if all of this telecommunication structure is kindergarten, if you will, that it's still play school, and it's still Sesame Street, and it's still silly cartoons like Phineas and Ferb, if you will, but it is the ground level for what eventually becomes the kindergarten for what we basically start having, which is global telepathy. All of us actually being able to feel, hear, see, and communicate with one another, strictly through spirit. And that's what Pierre Desjardins saw as the true seventh chakra of the world. That if you've got the six chakras, Lhasa, Tibet, Cairo, Egypt, Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, Los Angeles, California, and Tenri City, Japan as the 6 chakras. The 7th chakra is, and this is what we get, this is what starts happening. This is why this date, this tipping point is so important, where it suddenly comes to the point where there are more of us than there are of them, that it starts to roll the wagon down the hill, that we, like Sisyphus, have continued to roll this rock up the hill, and unlike Sisyphus, his rock just rolls back down the hill. This time we get it up over the top and roll it over the top and roll it down the other side. Probably just at some point in time to roll it up another hill, but that's a story for another day. So the bottom line of this is that what do we start to get? We get global telepathy. We become the capstone of the top of the pyramid, the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected that Christ talked about. We, again, by lifting that veil, become ascended creatures and ascended masters. And also, it is my belief that we've spent the last 2,000 years from the incarnation of the central Messiah of Christ and his teachings of light and love and truth and redemption, that through those core crystalline teachings, even though Christianity has been marred over and over and over again, and the church has gone after people, and it's created nothing but war and chaos and strife, and even though this is all predicted by the book of Daniel, that there would be a, quote, one church, and even the word Catholic means universal, and he warned of a great whore of Babylon that wanted to create a one world civilization, a one world society. Because that's the angelic conflict. The angelic conflict is who can rule the earth? Will Satan rule the earth at the end of a gun and bring peace by all of us in a cage? As Lucifer incarnates in a human being, the Antichrist, and this person steps into a position of global power. Because we're 2 years away from that now. We are literally 2 years away from a turnkey totalitarian super state that is going to be then meshed and emerged with a single currency and single banks and technocrats, unelected technocrats, very much like the czars that Obama has put in, or the quote officials of the European Union, who, by the way, are not elected, who make decisions for all the masses. I can't believe that the Europeans were that stupid, but that's where that's the choice that we have now, to be able to see that, or see an earth or world that is run by literally a theology, a theocracy. Do we have a Christed being? Let's say like a Gandhi or a Dalai Lama or or Mother Teresa, or I don't know. I sort of run out of really good. Let's say I would pick CEO. If I could pick anybody for CEO of planet Earth, I think it'd be Walt Disney. I think I would do that, because then the Earth would not only be at peace and really clean, but we'd have a heck of a lot of fun at the same time. So
and a lot of monorails.
Yeah, a lot of monorails. Yeah, monorails everywhere, and people movers and all kinds of good things. So I think I'm at the end of my time here, but but that's what it's all about. It's all about raising our consciousness, and actually the people that are coming with us on this cruise. And again, what's the order? The Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. The Buddha means you have to work on the spirit within yourself. The Dharma means you have to perform good deeds because of that spirit. Be a good person, be an angel, be a creditor, if you will. And the Sangha means that you are ordered to gather together with people of like-minded people. I mean, that's Buddha. And Christ said, wherever 3 or more of you are gathered in my name, there is not only love but power. And this is why people have to get together right now. This is why people have to share this force. We, by taking that flame in the darkness, can now spread that fire through the hearts of all the people that we're going to get. And every single person that comes on this cruise is a doer, is a motivator, is a prima mobile, and is a catalyst, because they're the touchstones that other people touch that bring about the change that we desperately need now, and is going to come if we can just polish our antennas very, very brightly and be there ready to absorb all the fantastic new energies that are about ready to rain like infinite blessings down upon us all. Everybody tune into AmericanFreedomRadio.com, StrangeUniverseRadio.com, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 7 to 9 Pacific.
Robert Duvall was born in Alexandria, Egypt in 1948. In 1967, he settled in England, where he continued his studies. In 1973, he graduated from the University of South Bank in London, with a higher national diploma in building management and technology. He then worked as a construction engineer in Oman, Sudan, Iran, Guinea, Saudi Arabia, France, Australia, and England. In 1990, he obtained a postgraduate diploma in European marketing and management. In 1994, he published his first book on ancient Egypt, The Orion Mystery, which was a #1 Sunday Times bestseller and has since been translated into 25 languages. He has since published several bestsellers, including The Message of the Sphinx, a #1 bestseller, Secret Chamber, Talisman, The Egypt Code, Black Genesis, The Master Game, and Breaking the Mirror of Heaven, all translated in several languages. Bauval is presently working on a book with Thomas Brophy, a PhD physicist from San Diego, Imhotep the African, to be published early in 2013. Bauval's discoveries and theories have been the subject of dozens of TV documentaries on many channels, including the History Channel, Discovery Channel, Fox, ABC, NBC, and many others. He speaks 4 languages, English, French, Italian, and Arabic. He's presently learning Spanish. He has 2 children who live in England, and he and his wife, Michelle, live in southern Spain. So I'm thrilled to have you with us today, Robert. What do you think is going to happen on December 21st, 2012? And how can we prepare to enter what the Mayans call the world of the fifth sun?
Well, as you know from my book, Susan, I am what people call archaeoastronomers. I study ancient astronomy, and I've written many books on the subject. My specialty, of course, is ancient Egypt, but I did get interested in the Mayan calendar, particularly the events of 2012, mainly because my very good friend, John Major Jenkins, who is one of the authors of several books on the subject, has got me interested, and we had many discussions on this. I think it's important that people understand from an astronomical point of view what it really means in terms of what's happening in the sky. I think there's a bit of a confusion, and people are uncertain of the actual event itself. As for its meaning, I'll make my comments later on. What is really happening is that the points in the sky against the fixed stars, where the sun reaches during the winter solstice, has been moving against the fixed stars, mainly because of a phenomena we call the precession of the equinoxes. In very simple terms, the Earth wobbles like a spinning top. I usually say like a belly dancer for more poetic people. And it gyrates very, very slowly in a period of 26,000 years. What happens because of this motion is that the landscape of the sky, if you like, appears to move. In fact, it's us that are moving. And the sun's trajectory against the fixed stars and its major stations, the 2 solstices, winter and summer solstice, and the 2 equinoxes, appear to rotate very, very slowly in this cycle of 26,000 years against the fixed stars. Now, what is happening this year is that the winter solstice has entered, in fact, the area of the Milky Way, and is approaching what we call the galactic center, the point in the sky that marks the center of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. And it will reach it, or some have calculated it will reach it, on the 21st of December, which is the winter solstice. Now, this is very, very interesting from an astronomical point of view, because, first of all, it demonstrates to me, and this is the discussions I've had with John Major Jenkins, that the Mayans were capable of working this out thousands of years ago. To me, that in itself is quite an important thing. And curiously, the same thing happens in a completely different continent, which is Egypt. This year, like every year, the sun will rise in perfect alignment on the winter solstice with the great temple of Amun-Ra at Karnak, the great sun temple, in fact, the greatest sun temple in the world. It does this every year, but this year it will be doing so when the sun is in the galactic center. So that's the mechanics of it. And it seems that two cultures on different sides of the world somehow knew about this and seemed to place a lot of importance to this event. Now, what does it mean? Of course, there's lots of interpretations. I'm a bit of one of these down-to-earth persons, and I'm not too sure if there is the meaning that some people have attributed to it. But one has to admit, I'm the first one to admit, having lived in Egypt, and as you know, I was born in Egypt, is that there is amazing events. Are you still there, Susan?
Yes, I'm listening. This is fascinating, yes.
Well, there has been amazing events this year that are building up towards this crescendo that might be around December. Political events, economic events, natural events. We've witnessed this all. I don't need to enumerate them. Everybody's seen them on TV and read about them. And I'm particularly interested in what's going on in my country, Egypt, because it's baffling that all this is happening this year. We literally have a gigantic shift in consciousness that is going on there right at the moment. And it seems to have been almost predicted by the ancients. There is an ancient prophecy dating from the early 1st century, which is known as the Hermetic texts. And they predict that there will be this shift in consciousness. So I strongly feel, although it's one of those things that you can't prove, and I hope to be able to discuss and give talks on the cruise, on a different way of knowing. Like you pointed out, I am an engineer. I've come from a very technical background, but I've been convinced that we as human beings, and particularly ancients, were able to know things without necessarily proving them. That the information was inside them. The information was retrievable if you knew how to get it from inside yourself. So I think that this is what happened with the ancients. They were aware of something, and I think that the right word for it is a major shift in global consciousness. That the whole world will, and is, as a matter of fact, becoming aware of itself in a different way, a sort of giant leap in mutation. So I hope to elaborate this when I'm on your cruise.
So do you feel that this galactic alignment, let's call it that for purposes of understanding, this galactic alignment with the Milky Way, with the center of the galaxy, do you think that this really is having an effect on humanity and bringing us to a higher consciousness, to higher awareness?
Well, I know we don't have time for all this, and like I said, I will elaborate on this, of course, on the cruise. But I believe that we are subjected to an influence that we are unaware of, a sort of what we perceive as chaos. I believe that there is a way that the universe is governing our consciousness that we haven't even gotten to understand it, but we are influenced by it. And it would make sense to me that the activities of our planet, these subtle motions that it has, and how the sky relates to this, has an effect on us, and we respond to it in an unconscious way, perhaps. It has been one of the things that I've been particularly interested myself lately in my, and I've discussed this in my last book, and I'm discussing this, by the way, in my book that I'm writing now with Tom Brophy, is that we know for a fact, I mean, it's a scientific fact, that something happens to early humans sometime around 200,000 years ago, when Homo erectus, our previous human existence, was affected. A woman was affected by something, and that something is what I'm trying to one day hopefully understand. It was affected by something, and a huge mutation took place, and she gave birth to the first modern man, Homo sapien. This is the great missing link. There is something that causes these mutations, and we're beginning to suspect that it has something to do with the influence of the celestial bodies that we haven't been able to detect. It's too subtle. We don't have the fine tuning to know its existence. But we clearly know that these mutations have taken place, and this is the big one. So, is something on its way? Is the human race about to take a huge leap in consciousness and move into a different phase? And I suspect it will. This is the feeling I have. So that's my take on it, Susan.
Yes, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I believe that we already are in that era of moving into a higher consciousness, of a new consciousness, and it's been going on for the last approximately 50 years.
I do not condone or support these theorists who have said that it will be the end of the world and so forth. I think what has been prophesied, predicted through calendrics, and what we sense is precisely that, a shifting consciousness, something that will alter the human race's perception about itself and its position in the universe. So I'm very optimistic.
Colin Andrews is best known for his research into the crop circle and UFO subjects since 1983. He provides the only continuity between the past crop circle research era and the present, along with his friend and colleague, Busty Taylor. His long view of both the genuine phenomenon and the human-made phenomenon provides unique insight into the subject. His research results indicate the intelligence behind the phenomenon is interacting with both crop circle researchers and many of the people who make the hoaxes. He has publicly stated since the late 1980s that the phenomenon indicates a future period of human chaos. The period indicated, supported by current trends, can be changed with human awareness. He also believes there are serious eco-political implications and that the future direction of the planet is at the center of the phenomenon. Your latest book is The Complete Idiot's Guide to 2012. What do you see happening on December 21st, 2012, and how can we prepare to move into this new era, the fifth world, as the ancient Maya call it?
Well, broadly speaking, I think that what is happening outside of the window now will continue to happen until such times as all of the, basically the physical infrastructure has decoupled, and that we're in a position, you could say, of being basically cleansing the old systems, decoupled them, and then in full preparedness to recouple with new minds, with new lessons learned, and to move forward. So I do think, broadly speaking, it will be a continuation of the decoupling that's going on right now. There are many examples when, I think perhaps I ought to say, just quickly to kind of set some of this up, is that in 1983, when I first coined the term crop circle and began the research myself with my first co-author and one or two other scientists, we were gathering data, and those all related to mysterious circles in the landscape. I wasn't at that time aware at all of the Mayan prophecy. I don't think I had heard of it at that time, but as we gathered the data, we looked to try and decipher the complexity that began to evolve, and there were indications that we were looking at family types of designs. Some were mathematical, Others were all certainly niched into astronomy and indeed astrology, and other family designs also that gave us information about nature and so on. And so that was where it kind of began, and that was very specific to the crop circle research. And then 5 years ago, my wife Cynthia and I were asked to write the 2012 book for the Complete Idiot's Guide series of books. And of course then there was a very specific research began into the Mayan prophecy. And it was quite extraordinary to me as an engineer working with many scientists that I could see striking similarities with the prophecy as it was deciphered by a number of experts, and indeed the trend lines that the crop circle phenomena was also indicating. And so when we looked at what the Maya was saying, that we're ending at a 26,000-year kind of super cycle, you might call it, with not just the astronomy, but behavior changes with those cycles having been monitored by the Maya, I think in a quite amazing fashion. I don't think actually there's enough time has been put by any of the media to the accuracy and the science which was applied by those astronomers back in the Mayan days. They were able to show us with great precision, for example, the alignment of the stars, the sky on the 21st of December. I mean, it's all facts. It isn't anything that we have to wonder whether they're going to be right. They have already been right. We're looking at all of these trend lines of population, of climate, of human health, economy. We're all getting to hear a lot about that. The environment in general, global warming, astrology, the solar cycle 24, which is extremely active right now, just coming up to its peak in the coming months. And I could continue. So these guys were right. They are already right. And when you look out there in the sky, 21st of December, we see the moon and Uranus and Neptune, Mars, Sun, Mercury, and Venus arcing out across the sky, with Polaris to the north and the winged horse between. This will be seen across the northern hemisphere, and a slightly different combination in Guatemala. It's impressive, and so therefore that really got my attention, and we continued to go through elders down there in Guatemala, where the cruise will finish up in that magical land, where I'm sure, perfectly sure in my own mind, that these amazing scholarly scientists predicted something that is taking place. A transition is now happening. We are crossing the threshold into a new time. And when one of the most amazing crop designs appeared in 1995, within hours, we were feeding the data back to Washington, D.C., where my then colleague, Professor Gerald Hawkins, was inputting the data into computers down there in Washington to discover that this particular solar system, it was a replica of the solar system as a crop marking, was telling us that at the end of a short period of around 30 years, beyond 2012, there would be a critical time for this planet. Now, I will be explaining this, of course, in the presentation and showing all of this as fact, not as fiction, not as might be, as fact, that the planet Earth has to be in a position of coherence. And we believe that is referring to a coherence of love and respect. In other words, a harmonious collective consciousness for the life force of this planet. That will be where this planet lifts off to a much, much more prosperous, more respectful, and loving time. And so that is a very rapid overview of the things that I'm going to be talking about, but I would just add this to the back end of this short kind of overview, is that something much bigger is also happening. And again, I will be presenting these as facts, as study cases to our people on the ship and during the cruise that this much bigger thing that's happening is that literal physical interaction is taking place. This sounds to be beyond belief. It isn't, and I will give names and places and the involvement of individuals, crop circle researchers, including myself and my family, and also people making some of those crop markings. These are interactions with another mind, and this, I think, should be, we should see this as a positive addition to the a basic collapse of systems that are forcing a hand. They're forcing a hand, but somebody else is on this journey.
Fred Alan Wolf, author of many books including Taking the Quantum Leap, Parallel Universes, The Dreaming Universe, The Eagle's Quest, The Spiritual Universe, Mind into Matter, Matter into Feeling, The Yoga of Time Travel, and his latest book, Dr. Quantum Presents, a little book of big ideas. Fred Alan Wolf is a physicist, writer, and lecturer who earned his PhD in theoretical physics at UCLA in 1963. He continues to write, lecture throughout the world, and conduct research on the relationship of quantum physics to consciousness. He's a National Book Award-winning author of Taking the Quantum Leap, member of the Martin Luther King Jr. Collegium of Scholars.
Well, let's take what is called a long count view of Mesoamerica. This is really the area where all of this begins to take place, where the early Mayan people and the Olmec people began to look at the nature of time itself, and they had a way of counting, which I think is very interesting. And during the time I will be with you, I will go through some of the basic ideas that these people come up with, because people wonder, well, how do we ever come up with December 21st in 2012? How would the Mayans know that? Well, they didn't know that date because they were using a different number system based on the number 20. So the first thing we need to look at is just, what are we talking about? What are the terms that are used to describe the Mayan vision of time? Now, once we start getting into that, we begin to realize that time is really a recognition that human beings have of patterns of behavior, of things that they see. And when they try to make sense of those things, they're looking for frequency or cycle or repetition. And it's from that frequency or cycle or repetition that people begin to sense a purpose, a meaning, a reason for existence. And that's certainly wasn't only with the Mayan people. We can find in the ancient Kabbalistic traditions of the people that are now called Jews, that came out of what is now called Iraq, following a guy who was a mystic called Abraham. We can see the same kind of thing in their vision, because these guys would look up at the sky and they would see cycles. They would see movement, and from cycles and movement, one gets a notion of time. Now, what I should have told you about is my latest book is actually called Time Loops and Space Twists, How God Created the Universe. And we'll talk a little bit about that in relationship to the big cycle of time, which in the Mayan terminology is called a katun. And what we're looking for is the first, what is called a baktun, which I won't go into all the details of what that is, but we're actually reaching what is called that our world ends after 13 baktuns, and then there's another cycle of 13 baktuns, and it keeps going like that. A 13th baktuns is roughly, this is surprising, about 5,125 years, and that's really dating back to the times of when we see the Chaldean people and other peoples coming into notion of the nature of time itself. So these are some of the things to give an overview of what is meant by time, what time means to us personally, and the most important thing, I think, is to recognize that we ourselves are contributing to our notion of time, that we are contributing to what we mean by time, and we are contributing to the creative element which is contained in time, the ability to recognize patterns. And this is probably the most important thing I can tell you in a short period of time, and that is that we are creating time, and that we are creating the moments of our history as well as the moments of our future. That from the point of view of quantum physics and from general relativity and the newest ideas that are coming into focus right now, most of what we see is a kind of an illusion. It's very solid and very real to us, but there's a pattern in it, and if we can begin to identify that pattern and begin to look at it in a certain way, what I call positivity or a positive way of looking at things, we can influence the direction in which the evolution will take place. So the end of the Mayan calendar, or the ending of the 13 Baktuns, which will take place on December the 21st, it's to realize that we ourselves are creative, that we can create a transformation in our own cultures so that what we thought before begins to dissipate and dissolve into memories, and what we anticipate as what we want to be begins to appear to us as future, but future influencing us now. This is a little bit difficult to explain over the phone or in a short conversation, but I hope to make this clear during the seminar on board. Basically, that's what's in store for you. We're going to find out about the nature of time, the nature of cycles, and what quantum physics and consciousness really are. And I'm going to provide you with a new vision that is the latest stuff that's coming out of the minds of the new physicists, which indicates that we ourselves are created from projections from the infinite past and the infinite future, going forward in time from the past, backward in time from the future, into the present, and that we ourselves exist in a whole other kind of dimension, you might call it, but really on the edges of surfaces. And we are kind of like holograms being projected from these surfaces.
I am so fascinated by this whole idea of time and the illusion of time and past, present, future all being really coexisting all in one place. And you know, the ancient Maya, they were obsessed with the whole measurement of time, and in fact, they consider Hunab-Ku the measure of time, and in fact, even the word Maya itself means measure, the measurement. In the ancient Sanskrit language, the word Maya means to measure. So it is a way that the infinite is measured. This idea of Maya. That's the reason why they call it an illusion, because you cannot measure the infinite. So it's and it ties in with the Kabbalistic notion, and all the different cultures really tell us about this measurement of infinity. Cremo, also known as the forbidden archaeologist, is hailed as a groundbreaking research pioneer and international authority on archaeological anomalies. His landmark bestseller, Forbidden Archaeology, first published in 1993, translated into 26 languages, challenged the very foundation of Darwinian evolution. Journeying to sacred places in India, appearing on national TV shows in the U.S. or other countries, lecturing at mainstream science conferences, speaking to alternative gatherings of global intelligentsia, he crosses disciplinary and cultural boundaries and presents to his various audiences a compelling case for negotiating a new consensus on the nature of reality. Tell us, Michael, what do you think will happen on December 21st, 2012, and how can we prepare ourselves to move into this new era, the era of the fifth sun?
The Mayan people, like many people in the traditional cultures of the world, had a cyclical concept of time. And one of their vast cycles of cyclical time is coming to an end on December 21st, or just around that time in 2012. And I think it's important to be aware of cycles. We already are aware of cycles in our lives. For example, we're aware of the daily cycle of day and night, and we structure our lives around our knowledge of that cycle. At night we do certain things, in the day we do certain things. We plan our lives out according to our knowledge of that cycle. There's also the yearly cycle of the seasons as they manifest in different parts of the world. In the temperate parts of the world, there's spring, there's summer, there's fall, there's winter. And we have that in mind as we move through our lives. We structure our lives in different ways and in different times as the seasons pass. So these ancient people, the Mayans and other people, had knowledge of larger cycles of time, and it's important to understand them so that we can arrange our activities and our expectations and our hopes and our plans and our aspirations in tune with these various cycles of time. And in terms of the Mayan calendar and one of the cycles ending in December 21st, 2012, and another beginning, there's a lot of speculation about what that means. Some people see it, some people have seen it as a time of perhaps intending catastrophes and social and political and economic collapse and things like that, whereas others have posited, as I do, that it's more of a time of the beginning of a time of enlightenment and entering into a new world and another level of reality. It could be a mixture of things, and a lot of my thoughts about it are informed by my studies of the time cycles as they're expressed in the Puranas, which are the historical writings of ancient India. We're coming to a new consensus about the nature of reality. And for the past several centuries in the West, we've gotten a very matter-centered picture of reality. Our top scientists are just telling us we're machines made of matter, we're machines made of molecules in competition with each other for survival, economic survival, political survival, religious survival, and therefore we see huge amounts of conflict all over the world, conflict on the level of individuals, of classes, nations, religions even. So I think one thing that will happen in the future, starting from now, starting from December 21st, is that we are going to see a more consciousness-based picture of reality. And we're going to see people trying to break out of the patterns of economic and political and religious behavior that they've been locked into as part of this matter-based picture of reality that's been imposed on the world for the past few centuries. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, exchanging ideas with the other researchers and spiritual personalities and indigenous Mayan people who are going to be part of this. Now, a big part of this is understanding the cyclical nature of time, and the Mayans certainly had a cyclical concept of time. Other people in other parts of the world have also had cyclical concepts of time. The Vedic people of ancient India, for example, had them. And sometimes I think it's helpful to keep in mind all of these various cyclical concepts of time because they can inform us about what's really going to be happening. According to the Vedic cyclical concept of time, we're now in the Kali Yuga, which is a time of increasing political and social and environmental disturbance. And we do see that these things happen. We've seen social disturbance. I don't have to catalog all the various examples of it that have been in people's minds over the past few days even, or the past few years. There's a lot of social disturbance and economic disturbance going on in the world. Now that can be a good thing, because sometimes in order to change things, you have to shake things up a little bit. And it's also a time of increasing environmental catastrophes. And I think that's because the Earth is reacting to a lot of the negative energy that's been generated by our current very materialistic civilization. So the Earth itself, being a living thing, conscious entity, also can react to that. But how to change that? Even in a time of disturbance, it's possible to rise above it. As a matter of fact, it can be an impetus to rise above that and come to some higher level, to some fifth world, as you were saying, or some seventh chakra, as Sean David Morton was mentioning, or some Satya Yuga within the Kali Yuga, as I'm saying. That opportunity is also there. Just because it's raining, you don't have to get wet. Just because winter's coming on doesn't mean you have to freeze to death. We can take steps to enlighten ourselves and enlighten others and create circles and communities of enlightened beings that can have a powerful effect on what's going on in the world. We don't have to be a prisoner of whatever circumstances that we find ourselves in.
Tricia McCannon is a renowned American clairvoyant, historian, author, and teacher who has traveled the world in search of answers to the greatest mysteries of the ages. As a dedicated researcher and mystical symbologist in many ancient paths of wisdom, she's known as the mysteries expert. She's appeared on over 175 radio and TV shows worldwide and a number of international documentaries. She's the author of over 30 CDs and DVDs, as well as the books Dialogues with the Angels and Jesus, the Explosive Story of the 30 Lost Years, and the Ancient Mystery Religions. So for the past 2 decades, she's been a headliner at conferences around the world, giving soul matrix readings for over 6,000 people around the world in her continuing commitment to inner awakening and world unity. What do you foresee happening on December 21st, 2012? And how can we prepare to move into this new world, the fifth world, as they call it in the Mayan culture?
If I had to be the press agent, I would just go down through this list of the people that you have brought in and just say, each one of these individuals has been someone who has been a voice of transformation in the global community for the last 10, 15, 20, or 25 years. So it's quite a collection of teachers and speakers, and I love that you've chosen some very diverse points of view. I think that a lot of us who have really studied the historical end of this phenomena are aware of the time cycles. And, we have Hopis and we have Mayans and East Indian, Hindu, Vedic, Purana, Vedic traditions from all over the world that talk about these great time cycles. There's a lot to say about this, and this is definitely one of the things that I'm very passionate about. But to kind of bring another aspect to the table in this conversation, I would like to talk a little bit about the nature of light and how the end of this 26,000-year cycle, or 25,920-year cycle, is the end of one cycle, but the birth of another cycle, where, as they say, the solar energy of the sun goes into the mouth of the serpent's mouth, or thought of also as the mother's womb, creating a cosmic marriage. And this marriage allows energies from the great central sun to be downloaded as light waves into our sun and then to be downloaded onto our planet, which is part of what's happening with all these heat waves and solar flares and, tsunamis and earthquakes and all the earth changes have to do with these increased radiation energies. But they're not just heat waves. They are encoded messages from the galactic center. And since light is the carrier wave that transcends time and space, light is, the ancients say that the universe was created through love, sound, and light. In the beginning was the word, so you have the sound current, and then you have the light. This is a phenomenal opportunity for us as light beings to align with a frequency and take a journey, if you will. The different cultures named it different things. Some called it the way. That's what Jesus called it. The middle way. That's what Buddha called it. The ancient way. That's what Thoth called it. The Mayans call it the Kuak Sum, or the umbilical cord, or the serpent rope that leads us back to the Hunab Ku, meaning and one measure, one heartbeat behind everything. So I think one of the most phenomenal opportunities about this time-space window that all of us brave souls have incarnated into is that we are looking at the rare opportunity to go through a doorway in consciousness and possibly also physically from the third dimension into the fourth dimension. Now, what would that look like? Certainly I think if you're aligned with these frequencies, these light frequencies, it's going to look a lot different than if you're in a place of fear. And this is, one of the conversations about, is it world destruction or is it world creation? Is it literally like a science fiction movie where we somehow are involved in receiving these light energies that transform us physically, molecularly? So it's a very big conversation. Now, will this happen on December 21st, 2012? Possibly. Possibly it's the end of the cycle and the exact beginning of the new cycle. Possibly it's a download opportunity. And, of course, people who are at sacred sites like the ones we're going to are going to have an opportunity to literally be in the epicenter of these grids, these planetary global grids that have been laid out, as we know, by far more ancient civilizations than ours. And, of course, shows like Ancient Alien that many of us are involved in, those shows talk about this grid work that is being discovered in Australia and off the coast of India and Bimini and Mexico, where all those incredible ruins of Chichen Itza and Merida and Palenque, Uxmal, Coba, Tulum. Anyway, it's quite an incredible opportunity for us to link into one of the core nodal points of the grid of the Earth and to receive that blessing that's coming through from the sun, from the great central sun to our sun, through us into the Earth. And, of course, anything could happen because there are prophecies that the star brothers will arrive, that the elder brothers of wisdom will come. There's a prophecy that a serpent rope will descend and that a being called Nine Winds, or Quetzalcoatl, will come out, and that he will be a teacher of wisdom that will help to awaken and transform and change consciousness. So what a place to be.
It is the place to be, as far as I can tell.
It's the place to be. There are times that the place to be is the Great Pyramid of Giza. There are times it's Mohenjo-Daro, or it's Hawaii and Kauai. But this moment in time, there is no place else to be. And what a phenomenal group of teachers. I mean, this will be like old home week in consciousness. And even the people who've called me, who tell me that they're going to be on the cruise or that they want to go, they're really looking forward to the fact that literally it's like this huge activation party. I mean, You can look at it like this. If we were all going to die, what a way to go. We could go right into the fourth dimension directly, I think it's just very important to hold the consciousness of what this is, not just as like a birthday or a anniversary or a cool place to go on a holiday, although all those things are true, but to look at it as like a time ship that can literally transport our consciousness into a graduated state. Imagine getting to graduate to become a master after how many millions of years all of us incarnate down in these planes. That's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's a very interesting time for us to incarnate, and I'm sure that we're all ascending together into a higher vibration, into a higher consciousness, a higher octave. In 1982, Mellon Thomas Benedict died of terminal brain cancer and lived to tell about it. His miraculous return to life is one of the most well-known and loved NDE stories on the World Wide Web. Since his NDE, Mellon has been a researcher, inventor in the field of quantum biology, biophotonics, and cellular communication for over 25 years. He's a technology product consultant and popular lecturer on the subject of longevity, energy medicine, and phototherapy. He also holds a number of U.S. and foreign patents. Mellon Thomas has maintained his access to universal intelligence, enabling him to be a bridge between science and spirit. Deepak Chopra called Mellon Thomas the encyclopedia of the afterlife. Great. So your website, though, is MELLEN-Thomas.com. So, Mellon, I really would like to hear your insights and what you foresee as we move into this new era, this new consciousness that we're moving into. And what do you think will happen on December 21st, 2012?
My perspective on this is I have kept my connection to the light ever since my near-death experience and return to the light daily, and I do think tanks, and I'm a full-time inventor based on my connection with the light. Back in '82, when I had my original near-death experience, the light told me that I would begin this strange thing called my planet work in about 25, 30 years. And that was fine. And around 2010, the light, in one of my visitations, the light said, well, your work is to begin now. And I said, oh, what work? It had been so long. And, oh, really? Because I've never felt I've had a mission. I've never felt I had to do anything with this story, except the light did encourage me to tell my story. But other than that, I felt no mission, no compulsion, or like it was going to save anybody at all. But what the light reminded me of, and this is why 2012 is important for me, is that 2012 definitely does mark a turning point in many ways. And my perspective on this is going to be a little bit different than I think many of the perspectives on the cruise. And I like that because almost every angle of this is being covered by one of these masters on the crew. I really like that. I will probably be coming at it from a completely different perspective. My information is, of course, that 2012 is a marker on the path. It is definitely a turning point. But I will be covering specific information I've been given about 2020, 2040, and 2060 as some of the most important things that have ever happened on planet Earth. And my perspectives have nothing to do with plagues, conspiracies, aliens, or comets hitting the planet. So I have a different perspective. But basically, the dates of 2020, 2040, 2060 are really going to surprise people because, oddly enough, no one is actually covering the subject matter that I'll be covering. I don't want to give too much away right now. My perspective is one from a natural view of metaphysics. And the greatest gift I was given by the light was to look at this thing called the Gaia perspective. And, of course, we all know what Gaia means now, the Earth Mother, the Earth as a whole living system. So I will be looking at things from that perspective. It's the greatest lessons that I've ever learned about how to understand what's going on the planet. It will involve everything from what are the real metaphors of Adam and Eve, the whole concept that all the good that we have accomplished. That's something that needs to be, shared, is the human race and the Gaia has accomplished so much good, and especially something called collective intelligence is an incredible achievement for any planet, any living system to achieve. I will be focusing on some rather positive aspects, but some things that may be controversial to our crowd of people. We will, we'll really look at these dates individually that involve something that is going to change the Earth dramatically for the rest of the time that we stay on the Earth. And we will also talk about our starseed destiny. Of course, no civilization can stay on a planet forever. No matter what we do, planet Earth will die at some point. There is something in the Gaia, there's something in every one of us that recognizes this. And I will be talking about what I call our starseed destiny, which is in our DNA, actually. And why, once a living system like our Gaia system, Mother Earth, achieves this level of collective intelligence, that it starts looking for the stars and starts looking for other stars to colonize. I think people will find it very fascinating. I will look at the technologies that are just around the corner, because for every problem that we have, there are 10 answers on board. This has never happened before in history. I challenge my audiences quite often. Any problem, there's 10 answers already on the deck for this. And there are thousands upon thousands of people on planet Earth working actively on any problem that you can talk about. This has never happened before in the history of the world. And then one of the most important things that has happened, and we achieved this incredible thing about 1975, actually, and it was set in by the early 80s. For the first time in the history of this world, we have been in a position to technically, and this is what's so important, spirituality is important, but to be able to technically do what's coming next was the most important next step. You have to be able to technically accomplish certain things, not just imagine them, not just have a ceremony. All that's great, but there's more to it. And the interesting thing is that since 1975, we have, for the first time in the history of the world, which is so exciting, been technically able to feed, clothe, comfort, educate every human being on Earth without destroying the planet. This is a new time that we live in. And this is a very important thing to explore and to get into your conscious, get into your heart. And the idea that all the major problems that this planet's ever faced, it has transcended. We have never failed. Our DNA is transcendent. Our pattern through the entire history of this world has been transcending. And no matter what issues are going on the planet at any given time in history, we have a proven history of transcending whatever is going on, including before humans were on the planet. We were still here as a part of Gaia. It's interesting that humans are the youngest species on planet Earth in some respects, but we have the oldest DNA on planet Earth. I'm going to explore that with people in a multimedia way. My entire talk will be a multimedia presentation, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. I will also discuss what I call our future our future ancestors. That's the people. What will the people of the future think about us? And in my visitations with the light, who can see the mass potential of the future, no one can see the exact date of any future event. That's never been proven. But you can see a mass potential, just like karma has a potential of where it's going if you keep doing the things you're doing, of course. But it may surprise people to know that the light has told me, from its view of our future, that the people of the future think of us who are living now as the giants of all history on planet Earth. Can you believe that? It's stunning, isn't it?
That
us.
Is stunning.
We think we're messing everything up.
Right.
Many people look at humanity as a hairy caterpillar on a tree trying to eat every leaf on the tree. But that caterpillar doesn't realize that it's about to become a butterfly in total transcendence. And so I think this will be very exciting. It'll be a lot of fun, and I love images. I'm a show and tell guy, and so I think we'll have a lot of fun with this. I'm looking forward to attending as many of the other lectures as is possible, because, no one person has all the answers or all the perspective. It takes all of us on this cruise and all of us on this planet to see the whole picture, and that's what's very exciting to me.
Sounds like you have a very positive, optimistic viewpoint about what's going to be taking place in our future. And to hear that the beings from the future are saying that we are the ones that have really made a difference in transforming this planet, that is very inspiring.
We're the ones who actually made it possible. It's amazing.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Lai Uberud was named Best Psychic of 2005 and Best Pet Psychic of 2007 by the Houston Press. She's in Glamour Magazine Judges Hall of Fame. She comes from a long line of European psychics with clients in several continents, spends her time visiting sacred sites around the globe. She's the author of Celebrity Pets Tell All, and that's published by Simon & Schuster. And she's a radio and TV personality, a guest on numerous TV shows, spiritual advisor, medium, psychic and animal communicator. So, from your psychic viewpoint, from your standpoint, what do you see happening coming up? What do you see that we need to prepare for as we move into this fifth world of the Mayan calendar? And what will happen on December 21st, 2012?
You know, it's not only the Mayans that talk about December 21st, 2012. Even Nostradamus, that everybody knows, you know, the famous psychic and doctor, the Aztecs and the Hopis also mention it. And they all made predictions hundreds of years before they happened. They mentioned that there will be a blue star heading to the Earth at an incredible speed. It is interesting that the blue star was discovered in our galaxy not so long ago. According to all of them, December 21st, the Sun exactly conjuncts the crossing point of the galactic plane, which means that our solar system seems to be colliding with the Milky Way, causing many solar explosions which could scorch the Earth. We all know that there are droughts all over the U.S. and the rest of the world. Okay, does this mean that it's the end of the world? Of course not. It's the end of an age as we know it. After all, there have been already two different cycles. One, 26,000 years ago, another one, as the previous speaker mentioned, 5,125 years ago. And of course, this one, that's only 13 years, that ends on December 21st, 2012. And the funny thing is that it was 5,125 years ago that Venus appeared for the first time, the planet Venus, above the horizon, starting the present cosmos. May 20th, 2012, there was a solar eclipse. No, sorry, it's not May 20th. Yes, May 20th
was the solar eclipse over Mount Shasta.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
the
June,
full solar annular eclipse.
Exactly.
Yes.
And 2012 was the second and last transit of Venus this century. Also, November 13th, 2012, there will be a total solar eclipse, and December 21st will be the end of the big cycle. I don't mean the end of the world. How this ending of the cycle will affect us? On December 21st, the inner cosmos will reconnect with the outer cosmos, and the sun will be in a position to make a sort of bridge between the universe and the souls on Earth. This means that our linear understanding of time will disappear. When this happens, fear, hate, etc. will also disappear. It's almost like a spiritual bath of purification and divine love. Now, the Mayans had a very complex and vast understanding of time, seasons, and cycles. They actually had 17 different calendars, and some of those calendars describe precisely even events for more than 10 million years. Since 1987, the calendar called, excuse my pronunciation, Tzolk'in or Cholk'in has become quite important. It is based on the cycle of the Pleiades, which are also called the Seven Sisters, and is considered a sacred and determines the different changes in the history of humanity. The grand transformation that this calendar predicts is the fifth sun, the fifth dimension, and the fifth element. This means that after a period of transition, 1987 to 2012, that brought destruction of the environment, social chaos, war, planetary disruptions, cataclysms, tsunamis, etc. The guardians of the Mayan temples consider the 21st of December 2012, which of course is the winter solstice, the date of rebirth, the beginning of the world of the fifth sun. It's also the beginning of another age, of the time of great transition that they call the Itza age, which is the age of light and wisdom that will bring the multidimensional conscious, which is the fifth dimension. It is the beginning of a new age, resulting from the realignment of the polar axle with the center of our galaxy. Another interesting fact that on the 3rd of August 2004, and I find this extremely interesting, a huge crop circle appeared in Silbury Hill, which is Stonehenge, as everybody knows. It is extremely elaborate and as big as a football field. There are symbols in it, and the symbols remind us of the old Aztec and Mayan calendars. This crop circle appeared overnight, and it would be impossible to do it so quickly if it had been done artificially. Now, if we combine meditation with crop circles, makes it possible to activate our creative potential and expand our consciousness, opening it up to reach a new consciousness, and that the ancient prophecies talk about the return of oneness and age of enlightenment. That makes me wonder, why did such a big crop circle appear so suddenly? Is the universe trying to tell us something? I believe so.
This is an incredible overview that you've given us of the Mayan calendar and of the events leading up to 2012, all the various things, and this prophecy about the blue star and all that. That is really, really interesting. We look forward to you being on the cruise. You'll be doing readings for people there, and I know that you'll be booked solid. I'm sure that it'll be hard to get an appointment with you. At the age of 8, Abby Hayden had her first psychic experience, and she saw her little brother's shimmering, transparent astral body standing in her bedroom, beckoning her to go down the hallway to her parents' room. Through the open doorway of her parents' room, she saw her brother's physical body asleep and his astral body standing in the doorway, laughing at her. Needless to say, this created a fear of the unexplained that stayed with her until she went to college in Mexico. And then she was studying at the University of the Americas in Mexico. Her intuitive gifts emerged. She was studying for her BA in English literature, but the true purpose of being in Mexico was to begin her spiritual awakening. And that was a time when she connected to the Maya and their culture. And then in Mexico, her connection to the Assembly of Light, the group conscious that she channels, began. After returning from Mexico, she mastered past life regression, Western and Mayan astrology, Reiki energy healing, aura soma color therapy, and sound healing. And she wrote the book, The Mayan Sacred Count of Days, and she's also working on the Mayan Astrology Handbook. So Abby is actually going to be doing Mayan readings on the cruise, which is really cool. Very appropriate for the Mayan Galactic Cruise. She'll be doing Mayan readings. So tell us, Abby, what do you see as happening on December 21st, 2012, and how can we prepare for this new era for the fifth world?
An article on Mayan prophecy, and I'll tell you later where people can see it if they want. But the first thing I say is that the world's not going to end. I think we all feel that. But this is the end of, yes, the 25,000-year cycle, but definitely not the end of the world, because as previous speakers have said, the Mayans believe in cycles of time, and everything recycles. Now, my area of expertise is with the Tzolk'in calendar, which is the astrology calendar, and that calendar was used by the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and the Mayas were the last to put their spin on it, so to speak. But the unique achievement of the Maya is the long count calendar, and that is the calendar that has the end date of December 21st, 2012. And so there's nothing written by the Mayas saying the world's going to end, and actually there are many glyphs in the ruins of Palenque in central Mexico that show that the world's going to go on well into the 4000 AD. So, but really what I want to talk about is the prophecies that the Mayans actually left, and they are connected to the long count calendar. There's prophecies called the Katun prophecies, and that the Katun is a 20-year period of time. And the Mayans made 13 prophecies that keep recycling. Every 20 years there's a new Katun until you come to the 13th Katun, and then you go on again to the beginning of the prophecies. So the prophecy for 1993 to 2012, which we're in right now, I'm only going to talk about a small part of it. And that prophecy was half the Katun good and half the Katun bad. And we can see from the world economy that 1993 to really 2007 were really good times when the economy was expanding and everything was going really good. And then after 2007, things did start to turn bad. And now the economy is in a very fragile state. It is recovering, but everything is still very delicate with the economy. So now the prophecy from 2012 to 2032, that prophecy is for half the Katun there will be bread, for half the Katun water, the end of the word of God. So I want to look at these a bit. Now, for half the Katun there will be bread. To me, this says that we're actually coming into a more prosperous time. The economy is going to continue to recover, and we're going to be doing well for the next 10 years, which is half the Katun, up to 2022. So I think that things are going to get a lot better financially. The global economy is going to improve, and just actually living in general is going to improve. Now, then the second part of that prophecy, half the Katun water, I feel, in my opinion, that this refers to a period when there's going to be more rain and flooding and that kind of stuff. So there will be more water, more rain coming the years from 2022 to 2032. And I feel that is also perhaps the beginning of the periods that were shown on the maps of Gordon Michael Scallion and I Am America, that the world landscape is going to change because more water will be covering land areas. So I don't really feel that the final prophecy of Gordon Michael Scallion is going to come about and there's going to be big changes, but I feel they are going to start during this time period. And another indication of the water situation can be found on the Dresden Codex. The Dresden Codex was one of the few codices written by the Maya that actually survived. And on the last page of the Dresden Codex is a picture of water coming out of the god's mouth and water coming over the land. So I feel like we will have a period where there is going to be more rain and possibly some changes in the topography of the planet, but I still think we are going to survive that. And the most interesting part of this, I find, is the sentence, the end of the word of God. because during the same time period that went from 1500 to 1520, this was a time period that Cortez landed in Mexico. He arrived in 1519, and as we all know, it was the end of the Mayans' word of God. They had to renounce their Mayan religion and accept Christianity. So that's what happened during this exact same time period then. And my feeling is that the end of the Word of God is going to be the end of spirituality and religion as we've come to see it in these past 2,000 years, where, we've had these very solid Christian religions and Judaism and Islam and all these other religions, Buddhism, Hinduism. And I feel like people are going to migrate away from that and creating their own religion or creating their own connection with God and divinity, and not so much having to go to a certain place at a certain time to worship in a certain way, to follow traditions of a certain religion. I feel like all those things that we've been doing for the past 2,000 years in the age of Pisces are going to start to lose cohesiveness. And I think we're going to be coming into a true connection with the divine. The age of Aquarius is the age of individuality and individual expression, and I think we're going to all have our own individual expression on religion in the next, I would say, 20 years. So I'm feeling some earth changes and also some social, political, economic changes. But I feel like basically the Mayan prophecy is saying for this time period that the world, things are going to change, but everything is going to be good. And I guess I feel about these next 10 years that this is a time to prepare. The economy is going to either stay steady or improve. And I feel like people need to find out where they want to be and how they want to deal with the next time periods that are coming up. So we have 10 years to really stabilize and create a good foundation for ourselves for the future. Now, this article that I wrote, it can be found in two different places on the Internet. It can be found at www.shiftofages.org. And this is the website, the official website for Don Alejandro, who is the head of the Mayan Council of Elders of Guatemala. And they did publish this article on the website, so to me that is a validation of what I'm saying and how they correlate, or they feel that what I'm saying in this article is valid. The second place you can find this article is the website tokenrock.com, Token rock.com. And I have a Mayan astrology section there, and you can also read this article that talks about the time periods from December 21st of 2032 to 2052, and then from 2052 to 2072. Now, all this information that I've gotten about the Katun prophecies comes from a Mayan astrologer called Bruce Schofield, Scofield. And he's written several books on Mayan astrology, but you can find the information about these time periods in his book, Signs of Time, which you can get on Amazon if you choose. So my books are Mayan Sacred Count of Days that talks about my relationship with Mayan scholar Ian X.L. Lungold, and you can tune in to Ian on YouTube if you'd like. And the book talks about our time together and what we did, and I feel that many achievements in bringing Mayan astrology out into the world again happened through the work that Ian did and through the work I helped him with. And it was during that time that I learned about the Tzolk'in and Mayan astrology. And now I've written another book called the Mayan Astrology Handbook, and that should be out in print well, it should be out on Smashwords next month. I'm doing the final edit on that. And that makes it really simple to follow Mayan astrology, because the goal here, what you want to do with Mayan astrology, is attune to the light energy that comes from the Hunab-Ku, the center of our Milky Way. And so Western astrology talks about the influences that our planets in the solar system have on us, and Mayan astrology talks about the influences that the galactic light from the Hunab-Ku has on us. So both of these systems work together to help you understand yourself even more.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Ian, who is really a great light in this field, who has really had a tremendous influence on all those who went after him.
Yeah, Ian was living with him, started the whole thing, and now he just bugs me from the other side to keep going here. And that's why I wrote the Mayan Astrology Handbook, and that's why I really want to share the information about Mayan astrology.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Our next guest is Dr. Newton, who I was so thrilled to meet last year at Pyramid Valley, which is an extraordinary place in Bangalore, the ashram of an incredible spiritual master named Patriji. And I was so thrilled to meet Dr. Newton at that time. He's a medical doctor known for his innovative healing and transformative methods, which have the underlying theme of healing and transformation through inner awareness. He was born in 1969, and he owes his unusual name to his father's passion for physics. His father, a brilliant teacher of physics, was named him after Isaac Newton. And he has conducted more than 100,000 past life regressions, Dr. Newton, and he launched something called the Association for Regression and Reincarnation Research, of which he's the founder and president. And his vision is to see every individual on this planet become an enlightened master. So, Dr. Newton, thank you so much for joining us all the way from India today. And
yes.
I really would like to see what you vision for this coming era, and what you think will happen on December 21st, 2012, and how we can prepare for this new, what the ancient Maya called the fifth world.
India is the country where this was prophesied long back, almost thousands of years back, about these dark ages, the Kali Yuga. The Kala means darkness in Sanskrit, and exactly like Mayan prophecies, there was prophecies from India. It's spoken about these transition moments. One yug, one period of time is ending, and there's something new emerging out. So 2012, December 21st, is exactly coinciding with Kalki avatar. Kalki means nothing but an avatar who is representing the collective consciousness of the humanity, who is going to bring a powerful shift. So, a shift in the consciousness. So, there are earth changes that are happening, and that we could see throughout the globe. And exactly on December 21st, as prophesied by Mayan calendar, Mayan prophecies, so we are stepping into such a glorious period where there is a high energy and high levels of refined consciousness, and there is a possibility for everybody on this planet Earth to experience something very profound about themselves, their consciousness, and to align to the greater good or the highest good for everyone. So the second coming of the Christ, or Maitreya Buddha, or Lord Krishna, who said, whenever there is something happening on the earth, I come back, I choose to reincarnate. So all these prophecies are telling of the same thing about these changes, a big change, a big wave. It is nothing but a change, a shift in the consciousness, and it's not about destruction. It is something about beautiful shift, and collectively, entire humanity is going to make this shift. And not to miss this opportunity to be part of this great wave of change, because this is a golden opportunity for the entire humanity. And as I practice past life regression, I specialized in this field, I see 80% of the humanity is actually locked up with the past energy. We are stuck with past fears. And there is a change now. We are completely aligning ourselves to our new state of being, aligned to the heart and our wisdom, and which can take us to such a beautiful evolution collectively. So I see these earth changes as part of this ascension of the 2012, and it's because such a big wave of energy is created, and as we are stepping into the photon band by 21st December, and it is a great celebration of all the human beings on this planet Earth, where we can come together and really align ourselves to the coming shift in consciousness. So the fear energy is going to be shifted with something very, very beautiful. And even a critical mass of individuals, they reach to the understanding about what is going to happen, and they align to this new energy, new consciousness, then really this will be like a wildfire which spreads throughout the globe. And I'm very, very happy today to be speaking about the changes according to the Mayan prophecies and ancient Sanskrit scriptures from India, and from the Buddhist traditions, from the prophecies from the Christianity, where the second coming of the Christ. I'm very happy to speak about it, and we need to be ready for saying goodbye to the past, whatever that past, and we need to let go of what we are holding on to, the fears and some kind of old belief systems. And we need to completely make with the peace with the past and learn lessons from the past. And then we really make a progress now. And that's what past life regression is about. It's a goodbye process. And to integrate all that past lessons that we have learned in hard ways and in all situations from the past, we need to now make a shift. It's a conscious decision, and it's a free will that we all need to exercise at this point of time. And Susanna, I'm very, very happy to be speaking today. And December 21st on the Mayan cruise, it's going to be a great celebration for everyone.
It certainly is going to be. And from what you said, you believe that Kalki is a consciousness rather than a physical avatar? Is that what you said?
Yes, it is consciousness of the collective consciousness that is now shifting into much more refined, higher consciousness. That is nothing but Kalki.
Internationally renowned psychic medium, author, and radio personality Joseph Tittle, also known as Spirit Man Joseph, has been voted one of Ghost Voices magazine's best mediums in 2011. Joseph has been tested by celebrity medium James Van Praagh and is now listed as a recommended medium on his website. Ever since childhood, Joseph could see, feel, and communicate with spirits. Now Joseph uses his gifts to help reunite people with deceased loved ones. The messages that come through to Joseph are deeply compelling, often startling, and occasionally humorous. Joseph's down-to-earth approach has earned him a vast and loyal following throughout the world. Joseph is also the host of one of Blog Talk Radio's top spirituality shows, Journey into the Paranormal. Joseph has appeared on the Travel Channel's Mysterious Journeys and Lifetime America's Psychic Challenge. During Joseph's appearance on America's Psychic Challenge, he visited a crime scene with no prior information and provided complete and accurate description of that crime. On the same show, he found a little boy hidden on 17 acres in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Joseph continues to work with law enforcement on unsolved cases, even helped solve a cold case from 1969. Spirit Man Joseph is known throughout the world for the accuracy of his yearly world predictions. And he also has his own series, Real Psychics, which airs on Comcast On Demand. So Joseph's website is josephtittel.com. That's JOSEPHTITTEL.com. So Joseph, thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad you're here today. And I wanted you to just give the listeners here some vision of what you see coming up in the future as we move into what the ancient Maya called the sun of the fifth world, the new world that we're moving into, and what you think will happen on December 21st, 2012.
Just December 21st, 2012, that's going to be so magical and powerful, but it's really the whole year. And, a lot of people right now feel very stuck, like nothing is moving and everything's on hold. And it kind of is, because really it's a great time for us to manifest things and to project where we want to be in the future. And many of us are opening up this year like never before intuitively, which is an amazing thing. And it's all because of these astrological things that are going on this year that haven't happened in thousands of years, and the shift that our planet is going through, which also hasn't happened in thousands of years. Today, December 21st, 2012, is when the actual complete shift really takes place, but it's still shifting now as we speak. And on that day, there's not going to be no major catastrophic event that's going to end all days for anybody. It's just not going to happen. So there's no need to prepare for that in that way whatsoever. But we can prepare ourselves by meditating and doing what we need to put out every day love to the universe and gratification to the universe, so that when this shift takes place, it just goes into a good positive direction where it needs to go. And there are people all over the world that are praying and doing what they need to do to put that love and gratification out to the universe for this shift on 2012. And we're all going to get to gather together on that date, that week, actually, that whole week, and experience something so magical and powerful. I am so excited. I cannot wait.
So when you come on the cruise, you're going to be doing some readings there, right?
I am going to be doing readings there, absolutely. And it's amazing because I noticed just this year alone, I've been doing readings and connecting with spirit for more than 20 years now. And I've just noticed this year how the shift has affected myself spiritually, and how, the readings I never thought could become more intense after 20 years, and they have. And the guidance that comes through for people, I find amazing. I've noticed, too, that the people that come to me and the people that are being attracted and pulled towards this cruise are being pulled for a specific spiritual reason. You need to be there. You need to be there for the spiritual awakening that's going to happen with our planet and with us as individual souls. It's an amazing time, a great time to be on the planet, and what a great place to be when it happens. And the place where it was predicted thousands of years ago by the Mayans. We're going to be there on that day. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it is sort of really fantastic, isn't it? I think it's the place to be on December 1st, 2012.
every time I talk about it, I get so psyched and excited. And then to be able to do readings like on the water, right near this place, this magical place, I can't wait. The readings are going to be phenomenal. The people that are going to be able to get a reading with me are going to be so lucky. I mean, I want a reading during that shift.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, so, and I think I might do that.
Absolutely. So, so how do you think that we really need to prepare for this new age we're moving into?
Well, like I said, more people are opening up intuitively. They're getting pulled, feeling like they're supposed to be doing something and maybe not sure exactly what it is they're supposed to do. And in that case, just spend each day, beginning from the moment you hear this, meditating the best you possibly can. And if you have difficulties, get yourself a guided meditation CD or file download. Meditate every day, and several times a day, take pause to breathe and put love out into the universe. And that's very easy to do. Just simply think of someone, something, or someplace that you love dearly, and that puts love out there. And put gratification out there throughout the day. If something really good happens to you, or you have some kind of experience, or even a good meal, stop for a moment, thank the universe, and then put love out there. Because this only is going to come back to you, but it also is going to help the planet during the shift, and it's going to help us all come together and shift where it needs to go. It's the people, that aren't spiritual that I kind of feel sorry for, and the people that aren't opening up, because they're the ones that are going to have the most difficult time over the next 5 years. It's those that are opening up, that are becoming spiritual and being pulled towards this, that are going to have the most amazing time ever. That's why we're on this planet right now.
Dr. Susan Shumsky, best-selling author, foremost spirituality expert, pioneer in the self-development field, New Thought Minister, Dr. Divinity. I have 7 books in print. My latest book is called Ascension, and it was an Amazon.com bestseller. And my next book will be called Instant Healing, which will be coming out in December of 2012. And I'm pretty well known for having written Divine Revelation and How to Hear the Voice of God. I've been practicing self-development disciplines for about 45 years. For 22 years, I lived in the Himalayas, the Swiss Alps, and other secluded areas under the personal guidance of enlightened master from India, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who is the founder of Transcendental Meditation and the guru of the Beatles and Deepak Chopra. I was on Maharishi's personal staff for 7 of those years. Then I studied New Thought and Metaphysics for another 25 years approximately and became a Doctor of Divinity. And I have taught yoga, meditation, prayer, and intuition to thousands of students all over the world since 1970 as a true New Thought pioneer. I've done over 500 speaking engagements, over 500 media appearances, and I now travel extensively, facilitating workshops, seminars, spiritual retreats, as well as tours to India, Peru, and other sacred destinations. So here's what I see happening on December 21st, 2012. As Robert Bauval described, this is an astronomical phenomenon. And that is that the sun on the solstice is going to be aligned with the dark rift, or the center of the galaxy. This particular astronomical phenomenon has been going on for about the last 50 years or so, and will continue for another 20 years or so. It's actually a 72-year phenomenon. And I believe that it is having an effect on humanity. And that effect is higher consciousness, raising of consciousness. And we see that over the last 50, 60 years. We see how this world has transformed, especially in this country, America, and that has spread really all over the world, the influence of this rise in consciousness. Many of the great masters from the East came to the West to teach us their secrets: meditation, martial arts, the wisdom of the East has come to the West. Yoga, all these practices, the spiritual practices of the East. People in America didn't know anything about this until the 60s, when these enlightened masters started to come to the West. Well, I guess back up a little bit, because Vivekananda did come in the early part of the century. Yogananda came. So there were spiritual masters who came to America. But really in the 60s is when the explosion happened. And that was really the spiritual revolution. The spiritual evolution and the spiritual revolution. It was a revolution of spiritual consciousness that took place, and I was a part of that. I was a hippie in the 60s. I was a flower child. And at that time, that's when I learned meditation, and that's when I started to teach meditation. And at that time, we were all really interested in developing spiritual awareness and in attaining enlightenment. That was our goal. I know that many people thought that it was just about drugs or just about sex, or I don't know what their idea was, but I was a part of it, and I know what it was about. It was about raising of consciousness. It was about spiritual enlightenment, and that's the reason why we welcomed with open arms these great spiritual masters who came from India to teach us, and from China, not just India, China, Japan. And we were reading books like Autobiography of a Yogi, and we were reading Alan Watts' The Way of Zen. We were reading the Suzuki's books and other books about Zen and about Buddhism, and I particularly was reading the Buddhist scriptures and all of that, and I was interested in spiritual enlightenment, spiritual awakening. So it was through the efforts of all these people and all of us, those of us who have been on the spiritual path since then, whether in my generation or in a newer generation, who have really brought about this spiritual awakening. And I believe that the stars, or the galactic alignment, this planetary alignment, is simply a reflection of what is really happening here on this planet, a rise in consciousness. I was so fascinated by the fact that Dr. Newton said that this is the return of Kalki. If you know anything about Indian philosophy, there's 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu that happened. And one of those incarnations was Lord Krishna. One of them was Lord Buddha. And one of them was Lord Rama. And there are a total of 10 of them. And the last incarnation is Kalki. And Kalki is said to have come at the end of the Kali age, the end of the age of darkness, to bring spiritual enlightenment to everyone and everything. So Kalki, riding on his white horse, Dr. Newton tells us that that is simply the Christ consciousness. It is the collective higher consciousness, the consciousness of humanity, which is now embracing what we call the Christ consciousness, or the higher consciousness. So this is a vision that I've had since I was a child, the vision of world peace, the vision of higher awareness, and we're bringing it about. It's taking place. And those of us who are coming on this cruise on December 21st, 2012, will be on the cruise ship, and we'll see from the deck of that cruise ship, we'll see the Milky Way galaxy. We'll see that fade, those stars fade, and the sun coming out of that same exact spot as we see the sun rising out of that dark rift, out of the center of that galaxy. And that's going to be a magnificent, magnificent sight. And we're going to be viewing that from the deck of our ship on December 21st, 2012 at 5:11 a.m., which is, by the way, the amazingly auspicious hour of 11:11 Greenwich Mean Time. or it's also called Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time, is 11:11 a.m., which will be, we believe it'll be 5:11 a.m. unless ship time is different from the central time there in Mexico. I'm not sure, but we believe it'll be at 5:11 a.m. ship time. So it will still be dark because it's December, and we will be able to see that Milky Way galaxy, and we'll be able to see the sun rising out of that. So that will be a spectacular sight and a spectacular experience as we move into the fifth world. The sun of the fifth world is what the Mayans called it. And this is a new time on the planet. The new time is not so new, and it's not so now. As I said, it started about 1950 or so. And the world has not been the same since. This is a very different world than the world I was born into. I was born in 1948. In 1948, you did not see yoga centers on every corner. You did not see martial arts classes. You did not see mothers sending their kids to karate. You did not see people meditating. There was no such thing. No one knew what meditation was back then. You did not see organic foods. You didn't even see fresh vegetables when you went to the grocery store. You might find some iceberg lettuce and some tomatoes and some meat, and then you'd find canned vegetables, and you'd find some fresh fruit, yes, but you would not find the variety of and organic foods that we have now. You would not see esoteric bookstores everywhere and the information of esoteric knowledge proliferating all over the internet. That did not exist back then. This is a new world. We're living in a new world. Back in the 1950s, there were 2 esoteric bookstores in the entire country. And in the normal bookstores, all you would find is novels and history books and so on and so on. There weren't any esoteric books in normal bookstores. Now you find them in every bookstore, the esoteric books. So this is a new world. We are living in a new world. If you look on people's faces back then, when I was born, people looked so tense and stressed, and they look so unhappy and miserable and uptight. And now you look around and you see bright, brilliant, amazing faces. You see bright, brilliant, amazing children, amazing young adults and teenagers. And I just have such an amazingly optimistic viewpoint about what's going on now and what will be happening as we move into this new era, of the Mayan calendar. It's of the new age of the Mayan calendar. This is something very spectacular, and we're a part of it. We're alive during this period. So let's take advantage of this opportunity. Come with like-minded souls onto a cruise ship and experience this transition. During our cruise, we're going to be stopping in 2 ports. The cruise leaves out of Galveston, Texas on December 17th. We're going to be stopping in Progreso so that we can go to Chichen Itza, which is this amazing, the most well-known and spectacular-looking Mayan ruin in the entire Mayan world is right there, Chichen Itza. We're going to go there, and we're going to have a ceremony with a very famous Mayan elder, Hunbat's Men, who's the most famous Mayan elder in all of Mexico. And he'll be doing a ceremony exclusive with us, with our group only, when we're in Chichen Itza. And that's one of our days at port. And then another day at port, we're going to be in Cozumel. And Cozumel has an amazing site, which is called San Gervasio. San Gervasio is the only Mayan site that's dedicated to the goddess. And the goddess is named Ixchel. And Ixchel was the goddess of fertility and rain and so on and so on. And she was a beautiful goddess that all the Maya in the ancient times came to visit. The Maya women all came to Cozumel to visit Ischel in her sanctuary in San Gervasio once in their lifetime. They always came to visit her. And we're going to be doing ritual on Cozumel with an amazing, beautiful Mayan elder woman. We're working on getting her visa now so that she can come on the cruise ship and be with us for the entire cruise and also do ceremony with us in Cozumel. This event happens only once every 26,000 years. So we want to be a part of it. And we want to be a part of it with a group of like-minded individuals with one purpose in mind. And that is to transition into this new world with grace, with the blessings of God, with divinity, with joy, and together raise our consciousness and raise the consciousness of the entire planet. Because this transition is not going to happen by itself. We have to co-create it. We have to be part of it. And for this to happen, coming together on a cruise ship, relaxing, having a wonderful time, having fun, and not only having fun, but hearing these amazing speakers that you heard today on this teleseminar, and enjoying the rituals that we're going to have on land. We're going to have an authentic Mayan fire ceremony on Cozumel, and we're going to be doing a special initiation with Hunbat's man right there at Chichen Itza. This is going to be something very, very special. I don't want any of you to miss this. So we'd like to invite you to come and to be a part of it and to really transform your life, not only your life, but the life of the planet. To gracefully move through this transition into a new world and experience what the Hopi have said long ago, that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And to know that we are the ones that are creating this new earth, this new world, this fifth world. So now is the time, and you are being called. Will you answer the call? So join us as we sail together into the fifth world as one.